My name is Adam Riskin, and welcome to today's webinar on elevating your accounting processes with BlackLine. I know everyone has a busy schedule and appreciate you making the time to join today. Just a few housekeeping items. Everyone is muted to avoid any outside noise, but if you do have a question, feel free to enter it into the Q&A section at the bottom of the screen. I'll try to answer it at the end, but if I don't have time, we'll email you back with a response. Also, we know some are actively looking for help with their accounting processes and others are here just for informational purposes. But either way, we'll reach out to have a 15-minute chat after the webinar. We hope that you can accept and just have a quick conversation with us. So just a little bit about Revelwood. So we've been in business for over 25 years, helping accounting and finance teams improve their processes. Almost all our consultants previously worked in accounting and finance departments, so they have a deep understanding of accounting processes and technology. And this ensures our customers get the full value of the software they've purchased. Now, as it relates to BlackLine, we are a gold partner, which is the highest level a partner can achieve. And we earned BlackLine's Partner of the Year award in 2022. And a lot of hard work and effort went into that. Just a little bit about me. So I'm a former accountant that spent the last 20 years or so in the financial system space, managing ERP and financial planning systems. And what I've enjoyed most over my career is helping accountants reduce manual work, whether it's building Excel macros or creating reports or just implementing new software. I always like seeing the happiness on people's faces when an 8-hour monthly task now only takes 10 minutes to complete. And I get to continue that journey with BlackLine. It makes a huge impact on accounting teams, automating, reducing risks, providing visibility, and overall just improving processes. Just a little bit about BlackLine. So BlackLine's a company that creates software for accountants. It's all that they do. Almost all their time and resources are spent on designing software to automate and simplify accounting processes. A lot of their employees are either former accountants or auditors, and it's really helped them to create a great product. The company's been around for a long time, and in a nutshell, they got a huge number of users, a huge customer base across the globe, and recognized as the best in the industry. So why does a company look to BlackLine for help? Well, some of the common reasons are that the close takes too long, or processes are manual, or management has a hard time knowing which tasks are completed, or users are fatigued. Take Excel, for example, the most common used tool for accountants. For as great as it is, it still has its drawbacks. You have to spend time manually keying in GL balances into your balance sheet recs each month, or spend time manually reconciling bank transactions to your general ledger transactions. And sometimes formulas or links break, causing your spreadsheets to be wrong. And look at this from management's view. It's hard to quickly see how their team is doing on their close tasks when everything's done in Excel. There's no system they can look at to get status updates. They have to email their team asking for updates, or if they need to schedule team meetings. And so this leads to a ton of manual effort to close the books. And it's a hamster wheel effect because before you know it, the next close cycle is about to start. And although your team may be keeping up with their close activities, they might be losing the ability and capacity to work on other projects and initiatives. So you may want to do things like upgrade your ERP system or create some better reporting for your organization, but you just don't have the time to do it. And this is why BlackLine can be such a huge help to your team. It significantly reduces your time to complete closed tasks, ensures that they're done correctly, and gives your management team instant visibility into the status of these tasks. So what you're seeing here on this slide are some of the modules and features BlackLine offers. The 6 we'll cover today are balance sheet reconciliations, transaction matching, and the most common example here is to help with your bank recs. The system can actually match most of your bank statement transactions to your general ledger transactions. tracking your monthly, quarterly, and year-end close tasks, automation and approval workflows for journal entries, variance or flux analysis that most companies do for their P&L accounts. And the last module we'll cover is the cash and accounts receivable management module. So to sum it up, BlackLine increases your team's capacity to work on more value-add activities. It automates many of your existing tasks, reducing the time your team spends on them. And when that occurs, your team gains more capacity to work on other value-add activities. So in your current world, you may have that wish list of projects and initiatives, but you don't have the time to do them. But with BlackLine, you'll gain all that time you need to take on those projects and initiatives. Okay, so let's jump into the first module. This is the module to help with your balance sheet reconciliations. Now, one of the great things about it is how much time it saves you each month. For a lot of customers, before they implemented the system, they spend 1 to 2 weeks reconciling accounts. And that's with more than one accountant. And the main reason the reconciliations took so much time was because it was manual and in Excel. But after they implemented BlackLine, many customers reduced their time spent on reconciliations. It also provides many controls to make sure GL balances are correct and recs are complete and contain all supporting items, and that recs are completed on time. So let's take a look at how they work. So this is a high-level overview of how account reconciliations work in BlackLine. Each account is assigned a reconciliation template to store your supporting items. So for example, if you're reconciling a prepaid account, you can pick an amortization template. You only have to enter those items one time, and the system rolls the schedule forward each month for you. For reconciling a bonus accrual account, you can use an accrual schedule template and set up your accrual schedule for the year. For your bank recs, you can use a template that shows your ending bank balance, outstanding checks, and deposits in transit. Gives you that nice final bank-to-book report view. And there's many other reconciliation templates the system offers. Out of the box, there's 12, but you can create many more if you'd like. Now, to help you complete your reconciliations each month, the system automatically imports some key information. So for example, your trial balance automatically imports and populates GL balances on your recs. You can schedule the import to occur as often as you wish. And this ensures the GL balance on your recs is always correct. Now, we like to say that BlackLine is ERP agnostic. It can integrate with any GL system. All we need is a trial balance file, which all GL systems can create. It also easily integrates with multiple GL systems if that's what your organization has. You'll be able to enter supporting items and attach documents to your recs. And these can be entered directly by the preparer or automatically uploaded from a subsystem. So a common example here is to feed a list of sales and payable invoices into the system. The system will auto-populate the accounts payable and accounts receivable recs with those details. So it minimizes the time spent to complete the reconciliation. After the supporting items and GL balances are fed into each rec, then BlackLine tries to complete it by using its auto certification rules. That's right, the system can complete recs for you. And I'll talk more about that on the next slide. And for the recs that can't be auto certified, there's a workflow assigned of who should prepare, approve, and review. And the system has all kinds of tools to help with that process. Now, these are the auto certification rules I talked about on the last slide. The system looks at the GL balance and supporting items, and if certain criteria is met, can mark that rec as complete. So one very common rule is the amortization schedule rule. So when you create an amortization schedule in a reconciliation, the system rolls forward that schedule each month. So when the next month comes along and the GL balances are imported, If the GL balance matches the amortization schedule balance, the system can mark that rec as complete. Another common rule is zero balance and no journal entries posted. So if an account has a GL balance of 0 and no journal entries were posted to it in the month, the system can recognize that and mark that rec as complete. Another common rule is if the GL balance is unchanged from the prior month. Again, if that occurs on a rec in the system can go ahead and mark that as complete. And this is a huge time saver for many customers. It eliminates the time spent reconciling those low-risk accounts. Now, on average, BlackLine's customers see 60% of their account reconciliations completed by the system using these auto certification rules. So here's an example of a prepaid reconciliation in BlackLine. The screenshot in the upper left is actually the face of the reconciliation. Notice that top section. These are my supporting items based on my amortization schedule. On the face of the rec, I see each prepaid item and its ending balance for the month. But with one click, I could see the full amortization schedule for all months. And that's the screenshot in the bottom right. Now, this is typically the schedule you need to manually roll forward each month when you're doing your recs in Excel. But with BlackLine, that schedule automatically rolls forward for you. Notice the middle section there for comments. If something is important or different about this rec this month, enter that narrative here. You typically know what questions managers and auditors are going to ask about a rec. So by adding that information here, they can see it for themselves, and you avoid the time spent on a call or email explaining it. The bottom section there is for supporting documents. You can attach any file to the rec. We see in a lot of companies where documents are spread across file shares or emails, and it can be time consuming for people to find those documents when they need. Now, you could attach them directly to the rec. So approvers, reviewers, managers now have one single place to go grab those documents. We also see a lot of customers give their auditors access to the recs. This way, you no longer need to gather and email these documents each year and send them to your auditors. Since everything is attached to the BlackLine rec, they can go into the system and pull it themselves. The last thing I wanted to mention is the standardization of these recs. You ever open an Excel rec done by two different accountants? They can look so different, making it harder to understand them. Both may use different color coding and formatting. One uses pivot tables, the other uses some if formulas. It can be very time consuming to understand them. With BlackLine, recs always look the same no matter who completes them. It's going to make it so much easier on the reviewer or even a new employee taking over reconciliation responsibilities. Okay, so the next module we'll cover is the transaction matching module. And when we're talking about transaction matching, we're talking about matching records from one data source to another. And the most common example is a bank reconciliation. And to help explain the transaction matching module, let's look at a sample bank rec. This is how most companies do it today in Excel. They take the general ledger data and bank data, dump them out to an Excel file, put them side by side, and then match records one by one. So I got check number 54282 for $500 on my bank statement. Let me go find it on my GL. And when I find it, I cross it off or I change it to a color. We also see some companies have to manually click on each deposit and withdrawal in their ERP system to mark it as clear. But either way, it's a very manual and time-consuming process. Here's how the transaction matching module in BlackLine can help. So here's a high-level overview. On a schedule basis, the GL system creates a journal entry extract file, and your bank creates a file with your bank transactions. Both are imported into BlackLine, and this can be on a schedule basis. Some companies actually do it daily, so issues are recognized immediately, and the work is actually complete before the month even ends. Then the system runs the files through its matching engine. This is where the magic happens. BlackLine will match your journal entries to your bank transactions for you. And the matching capabilities are advanced and can match using any data fields in your files. We even match multiple journal entries to multiple bank transactions. And with those advanced matching capabilities, most customers see the system match over 90% of transactions for them. Now, transactions the system successfully matched go into a matched bucket. You don't need to spend any time looking at them, but they're there for audit purposes if you want to. Now, for the transactions that are left over, the system has all kinds of features to help you match them or mark them as an outstanding item on your final bank-to-book report. So try to picture it. The system will match over 90% of your transactions. Your team only has to spend time on the remaining 10. So you'll spend less time completing the bank rec and have more time to analyze exceptions. We actually have one customer that has over 500 bank reconciliations to complete each month. It was a huge time-consuming process for them. And after moving their recs to BlackLine and using the system to do most of their matching work, they were able to reallocate a full FTE to another department. That's how much savings it provided to them. And if anyone's interested, we actually have a case study written up on that. Okay, now to see the transaction matching module in action, I actually have a demonstration video. Let's take a look. What you see on the screen now are transactions for an operating account reconciliation. And these have been preloaded into the system. It includes both depository and disbursement transactions. The left side shows the bank transactions, and the right side shows the journal entries. Now, the loading of these transactions can be fully automated, where the system automatically imports on a scheduled basis. And it can be as frequent as several times a day if you want. No human steps are required. Now let's look at the logic needed to reconcile this account. We have some AP checks here, where if the check number and the amount are the same, the transactions match. We have some deposits here, where if the amount, date, BAI code, and document type are the same, the transactions are matched. We have the total amount of multiple ACH journal entries matched to one withdrawal on the bank statement. We have the total amount of multiple ZBA bank credits matched to the total amount of multiple journal entries. And maybe the most impressive feature, the system can look for any combination of bank transactions that sum up to the same amount as a journal entry. Now, all this logic that we just saw, it can be set up in the system, so the system can automate and do all this matching work for you. BlackLine calls these pass rules. You can create as many as you want. You can utilize all the fields in your bank and journal entry files in your matching logic, and they're really easy to set up. So let's take a look at some of those pass rules. Here's those 5 pass rules set up in the system. Let's take a look at the pass rule to match our AP checks. First, I tell the system which records are AP checks. On my bank side, BAI code 475 represents a check. And if you're not using BAI codes or aren't familiar with them, there are other ways to flag a transaction as an AP check. On my journal entry side, it's an entry with a document type of PMCHK. Then I tell the system that the amounts and the check numbers of the bank and journal entries need to be the same to mark them as a match. And it's really as simple as that. So now that we've seen an overview of the setup, let's actually run these pass rules and see this automation in action. I'm putting these screens side by side to help here. The right screen contains all my bank and journal entry transactions for the month. I have 212 bank transactions and 237 journal entries, about 500 in total. Keep those numbers in the back of your head for a minute. Now, I'll click the button that reconciles these transactions using the 5 pass rules. Note that although you see me clicking buttons for each step, these steps can be automated. I'm just manually doing it that way for this demo because it helps people understand how the system works. So the system is finished reconciling these transactions. So after refreshing the screen, notice how most of the records are gone. That's because the system just matched them. The only remaining transactions are the exceptions. So picture this in your current world. The system is scheduled to do this work daily, weekly, or monthly, but it runs at night, and it matches 90 to 95% of your transactions. Your team comes into work in the morning, opens the system, and comes to this screen. And they only need to research these remaining exceptions. Picture the time saved with this approach. Now your team can spend more time on researching the exceptions instead of just finding them, or have more time to spend on other projects and initiatives. Picture the ability to identify discrepancies immediately instead of waiting till month end, or completing your recs before the close instead of after. The benefits are endless. Also, note that I'm using a small number of transactions in this demo because it makes it easier to follow, but the system can easily handle hundreds of thousands of records if that's what you have. Now, here's how to handle the remaining exceptions. In this example, we have these two deposits the system didn't match. It's because my bank transactions had a date of June 5th, but the associated journal entry date was June 25th. I told my pass rules to ignore them because the dates were so far apart. But that's okay, because I can match them from this screen. I click on my two bank transactions and two journal entries. Now, check out this section of the screen. It's my helper. It's showing that the two bank items I clicked totaled $17,500, and the two journal entries I clicked were also $17,500. And the difference here is obviously zero. This helps me to know that the exceptions I'm matching in the screen are the same amounts. The last step is to click the match button. And now those transactions are gone from this screen because they're matched. All that's left are these remaining checks in my journal entry transactions. These are outstanding checks that haven't cleared the bank yet. Here's the steps to mark them as outstanding at the end of the month. I click on all the checks, come over here and click the Create Item button. So I mark these as outstanding items. So all that's left to do is go and review my final bank to book report. So here's my final report. At the very top, you can see a full audit trail of your bank and journal entry transaction matches. If I click on the automatic link, this shows me all the transactions the system's matched for me. For example, if I click on this match right here for my ZBA credits, I could see on the top the 5 bank transactions that match to the 2 journal entries on the bottom. And the sum of both totaled $350,000. The bank balance is automatically populated for you when you load the bank files. So you don't need to spend time keying them in, and you know they're always accurate. These are the supporting items we just flagged a few minutes ago. Here's the GL balance. This gets imported directly from your general ledger system, so you don't need to key in those amounts either. The unidentified difference, this is my bank balance, less outstanding checks, less GL balance. 0 means that my report is in balance. And notice these 2 sections down here. I have a comment section where I can enter any specific comments about this reconciliation. And in this section, I can attach any documents, like a copy of my bank statement. And the beauty of this is that all the information about your reconciliation is here in one single screen that everyone knows how to access. No need to search through a file share to find the different documents anymore. Also, all your bank recs, no matter which user prepares them, is always in this standardized format. It's much easier for managers to review, and you can just give your auditors access to your system instead of spending time emailing them a ton of documents. Okay, so, sorry about that. Okay, now keep in mind that although this module is commonly used for bank reconciliations, it can automate any scenario where you're matching records from multiple files. Note all the other listed examples here of how the transaction matching module can be used. And it can actually match records from up to 3 data sources. So you can use it to reconcile your journal entries to a subledger, or purchase orders to inventory received, or even a 3-way match between your credit card statements, bank statements, and journal entries. So if you're spending significant time each month matching transactions in Excel, BlackLine can save you that time by doing that work for you. Okay, the third module we'll talk about today is the task management module. And most companies use it to track their month-end close tasks. Now, most companies track close tasks in Excel today. They'll have a list of tasks, who's responsible for completing them, and date that they're due in an Excel file. And the challenge with that is that anyone can make changes to that file. Users can enter incorrect completion dates, and there's no notification if a task becomes overdue. The task management module has all kinds of features to help you manage those closed tasks. A couple of them are listed here on the screen, but some of the big ones are that you get an audit trail when tasks are signed off. So you know exactly when the task was completed and approved and by who. The system has email alerts it sends out. And this can be for tasks that are overdue or tasks waiting on approval. So everyone gets that proactive notification when a problem is close to occurring. Management reports and dashboards to quickly see which tasks are completed and which are outstanding at any point in the month. So you don't have to spend time asking your team for updates on their closed tasks anymore. And they don't have to spend time giving them. So you'll feel more confident that closed tasks are being performed properly and on time. And when they aren't, you'll know immediately. And here's what a closed task looks like in BlackLine. It shows all the tasks, who's responsible for completing them, when it's due, and other key information. So as an accountant, you can quickly see all the tasks you're responsible for completing and the status of each one. So this gives you that instant visibility into what still needs to be completed at month end. And if you're out on PTO or leave the company, that new person taking on your role knows everything that needs to be done. It's going to be a much shorter learning curve for them. Now, as a manager, your screen can contain the tasks for your entire team. So you have that instant visibility into your team's tasks, what's left to be completed, and who's responsible for completing it. No need to have status meetings or email updates anymore. All the information is at your fingertips in the system. Okay, now the fourth module we'll cover today is the journal entry module. Now, this isn't a module that's going to replace your GL system. It actually works alongside it to add automation and controls around your journal entry process. And it can integrate with almost any GL system and multiple GL systems if that's what you have. So let's take a look at some examples of how the module can help here. Now, some companies require journal entries to be reviewed before the accountant posts it. Some may also require supporting documentation for each entry. And it's usually a very manual process, typically using Excel and emails to track it. The journal entry module can improve that process. Now, in this example, you can create a screen in BlackLine that actually mimics your journal entry posting screen in your GL system. That's the screenshot you're seeing now. Now, your team would enter that journal entry information into this screen instead of your GL system. And that's because in BlackLine, you can set up a workflow approval for the journal entry, requiring it to be reviewed based on different criteria. Could be based on dollar amount of the entry, could be based on the GL accounts being used. But whatever that logic is, you get to define it. You can also require a supporting document to be attached to the entry. This way, you know all entries have supporting documents before they get reviewed. Now, once these requirements are met in BlackLine, meaning the entry's been reviewed and the supporting documents are attached, BlackLine sends a file to your GL system with the journal entry details. Your GL system is going to import that file and post the entry. So now you have a systematic way to ensure journal entries are properly reviewed and supporting documentation exists for all your entries. Here's a second example showing how the journals module can save you time. The system can take supporting items from your balance sheet recs and automatically create a journal entry. So for example, this is the prepaid reconciliation example we saw earlier in the webinar. We've created an amortization schedule for our prepaid items. The schedule contains all the information needed to generate a journal entry. Although you're not seeing it here, you assign the GL account behind the scenes when creating the schedule. Now here's where the automation kicks in. The system can automatically generate a file with the journal entry details. Send that file over to your GL system and have your GL system upload and post it. So there's no need to spend time booking that entry anymore. And you can be confident that it was booked properly. So all those journal entries that you're manually booking based on supporting items and balance sheet recs, the system can create and post those for you. Okay, the fifth module we'll touch on is the variance analysis module. Now, some refer to this as flux analysis, but this is where most companies analyze large or significant swings in their P&L accounts. The system can flag accounts when the large swings occur and assign accountants to explain and review it. Now, let's just talk through some of the benefits of this module. Some of the big ones are that the system can actually look for large variance at different time intervals. So for example, variance can be based on prior month versus last month, quarter to quarter, or year to year. It can actually compare actuals to budget and flag an account if those amounts are significantly different. Different accounts can be flagged for a variance explanation based on different rules. So for example, one account can be flagged for a variance explanation if the amount is over $100,000, where another account can be flagged if the difference is greater than 2%. You can require approvers and reviewers to sign off on variance explanations after the accountant writes them up. So compare this to how you're doing the variance analysis in Excel today. You have to drop the current month and prior month balances onto a spreadsheet. You got to use some formulas to try to identify the accounts to explain. And then you type your explanations into a cell. And it takes time to create that spreadsheet. And there's a ton of risk because your formulas can be off or explanations can be forgotten. Or what if a late journal entry is posted after your analysis is complete? BlackLine eliminates all that risk and speeds up your analysis. Okay, and the last module we'll cover today is the cash and accounts receivable module. Now, many companies have teams of cash posters responsible for posting customer payments and managing receivables. And this module helps to automate those tasks, saving time and reducing errors. Some of the main responsibilities for cash and accounts receivable departments can be very manual and tedious. They're responsible for things like applying customer payments to sales invoices and customer collections, and also some analytics and reporting. Now, the BlackLine AR module, it's designed to automate and manage most of these processes. So for example, the system can actually apply customer payments to their sales invoices, reducing much of that manual work. It can track collection strategies that worked in the past, so you can use the most effective ones going forward. Disputes can be put in a workflow queue so they never fall through the cracks. And an AR intelligence module can be used to provide real-time intelligence data, helping your team make better decisions. Okay, and that concludes today's webinar. I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to join today. If you do have any questions, feel free to email us at info@revelwood.com. Also, just a quick reminder, we will be reaching out for a quick 15-minute introduction call. We hope that you could accept that meeting and have a quick conversation with us. Thanks again, everyone.